think a lot of people have this common misconception that because Lone Wolf is such a big name and has been so prevalent in the industry, they have this idea that it's some giant corporate outfit, and that like Lone Wolf Custom Gear, like we're so removed from like what's going on, and like, oh, we're making all this stuff in mass production, and we got like these giant warehouses, and it's like we're just, essentially like just kind of pulling the wool over on people, and people that, if people knew this is a family business, this was a mom and pop business.
Welcome back to the KiLLs podcast. It's been a while, I know. I've recorded a couple other podcasts on other platforms. Let's see, Bowhunter Chronicles, The Outdoor Drive, Woods and Water Project, but I haven't recorded an episode of KiLLs It in quite a while, in too long. Feels good to be back. Almost as good, let's be real, not quite as good, but almost as good as it feels to be back in the stand and back in the saddle, whichever, or both, as we get into in this episode. This episode, this guest for the KiLLs It podcast is a true killer, a true innovator, young buck that I admire. It was really good to talk with him, and through this talk, we found out that we actually have a lot of commonalities. Unfortunately, some of those commonalities could probably be looked at as mental issues, but that's beside the point. The point is, this is a younger dude that I really look up to, and I think a lot of other people do. And he is a true innovator. He has changed the game the way many of us hunt, and will continue to do so. And the name, D'Acquisto, and Lone Wolf Custom Gear. And this episode is none other than Cody D'Acquisto. We had a lot to talk about on this podcast, and I should say this podcast was recorded a long time ago. This was recorded back in late June, and I meant to release it soon after and, just keep KiLLs It rolling. But as I do with everything, I got to make it a little more difficult, a little more intricate. Can't just release a podcast. And I do what I call a dynamic video cast, where every now and then you hear a little sound drop that lets you know there's something cool to see going on in the video. There was a lot of moments we talked about through both my hunting or pieces of footage, photos, whatever that I had, and there was a good bit that Cody had as well to make this a dynamic video cast. So after we recorded, I sent Cody over a nice long list of all the shit I needed from him, the video clips, pictures, all that. And Cody just went ahead and took it upon himself to decide that getting 1.0s and 0.5 tree stands, mini sticks, 8ers, and double steps put together and shipped out to your door so you have them for hunting season is more important than getting the shit I needed to finish my podcast episode. It's a little bit outrageous, I know, but I think y'all will survive with getting your tree stands and your sticks before receiving this episode. I am pretty proud to announce that this buck that I just killed, that you can see on my social media, I call it the Split Brow Buck. Super original name, I know. I mean, this Split Brow 8, I don't really give deer cool names for the most part. I give them descriptors. But anyway, this buck, I slipped into the woods, and I got intel with him from the Lone Wolf Undercover Trail Cam. I hung a set of the double steps and the DS.5, the public land stand that I talked about in previous podcasts that I wanted to pick up to use as a traditional tree stand or as a saddle platform. And this buck, it's a pretty epic story of how it all went down, but I'll just say I got up in a triple split gnarly maple. It was in the perfect position. I had the saddle set to shoot from the strong side with the hunting at saddle style, and I had the buck walk by at 6 yards, and I ultimately made the shot at 12 yards and got it all self-filmed, all on video. And the Lobo cut the Zeus loose, made a lethal shot. And after talking with Cody and Andre, I believe I am the first to kill a buck from the production model .5 tree stand, as well as the first of the Lone Wolf Addictions, Whitetail Addictions, Lone Wolf custom gear team to tag a buck this season. So y'all may not think much of that, but I'm pretty fucking proud of it. That's pretty epic to me. Lone Wolf is a name that I came across early in hunting because I wanted the best, and they were the best. I think they still are the best, and that name has been one that I've looked up to a long time, the D'Acquistos. And this podcast actually announced that myself, the Modern Assassin, and the D'Acquistos and Lone Wolf Custom Gear team have kind of partnered up, and I will be taking my knowledge and innovations and hoping to help improve what is already the best system out there and bring it to you guys. Just 2 nights ago, I killed a doe from the .5, just 3 double steps. And then the .5, I was hunting out of it traditional tree stand style, because that's just what the situation called for. So I've killed a nice buck with it from saddle style, and then a good doe, heart blasted her, hunting from a traditional tree stand. And that's exactly what I wanted from this system and was predicting that I'd be able to do with this system. And that's what makes this podcast episode a lot of fun to bring back. There's a lot of things that Cody and I talked about that kind of have now come into fruition. It's kind of cool to revisit. You'll find that, you know, maybe the timeline of things have changed because of, what was it? Fucking COVID. So because of that whole thing, timeline and, you know, dates that we may have said may have changed a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, it's pretty cool and pretty relevant now that I have killed deer using this system to talk about what I was hoping to do with this system, and I've now already achieved. And the season's still early, and I've got more tags, and I've got a lot of drive still. So it's going to be a great season. I think this was a great podcast episode. Before we really dive in, I want to get into the Secretive Service shout out, which is a segment on this podcast where I like to give men and women recognition that don't necessarily get it or do whatever their good deeds are for the recognition, be it military forces or emergency services or teachers or just a good role model, whatever it is. And this one actually comes in from a good buddy of mine, Ryan Davis, our Dizzle, my homeboy out in Ohio. He sends in this Secretive Service shout out for his buddy, Matt Bankhead. He's 28 years old, lives out there in Ohio. I believe they may even work together. But he is a specialist with the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Ryan brought up this dude and mentioned to me because he's getting into hunting. And Ryan was super pumped just telling me about this dude and telling me about the pieces of equipment that Ryan has that he could loan to him or share with him and help teach him, and excited to share his knowledge and experience. And I tell you, that's one of the reasons I love this podcast, is because I get to share my experience and knowledge of which I am passionate with those that want to learn and are passionate about the same thing. And Ryan Davis is super pumped to help his buddy Matt Bankhead get into hunting. And Matt, I want to say welcome to the addiction of bell hunting, and thank you for your services to America and Americans. I mean that sincerely. Thank you. Wish you the best of luck in your hunting endeavors. And speaking of Ryan Davis and his passion and everything else, the fucking whack 'em and pack 'em wild man himself, Caterpillar, is out there in Ohio and killed an awesome buck on opening day out there. Ryan Davis got it all on film. Super fucking jacked for them. Can't wait to see it. And word is, the man behind Managing Deer TV, good buddy of Keith Chirac, Ryan Barron, has dropped his number one buck that is scoring over 200 inches. Free range Ohio whitetail. So Managing Deer TV, keep up to see what goes down with that. Now, back to this shit. Back to this podcast. Again, Cody and I, we talked, we have a lot of fun when we talk. We keep up a good bit. We both get wound up about shit. We share a lot of similarities in our passions, as well as how we like to get systematic with things. And Cody, I know you'll forgive me for, picking on you there about not getting me my shit in time as far as the plugs I needed for the podcast and all, but you know how it goes. I'm supposed to be doing this video of the Lobo, but found it I needed to figure out my system for getting up and down the tree and killing a whitetail first, which I've done. So now I'm getting to that Lobo video, and I guess I'll give you all a little rundown about why I want to do a video about the Lobo. Those that don't know about it, it's another piece of equipment from Lone Wolf Custom Gear. It is the Lone Wolf bow that's actually made by Darton Archery. A lot of people just say it's the DS 3800. I got this bow from Cody, and I'll be completely honest, I am way more impressed with this bow than I ever expected to be. I was so impressed with this bow that after shooting it, I contacted Cody and said, do you have a contact at Darton? Someone I can speak with. I need to understand why this Lobo, with the same draw weight, same draw length, shooting the same arrow as my other bow that claims to be the most efficient cam system, is now shooting 30 feet per second faster and burying arrows, the same arrow, 6 to 7 inches deeper in the target. It did not make sense to me. So I got a hold of Ted at Darton and went over a bunch of things. It is the DS 3800 riser. It was a popular riser. But it's not just the DS 3800. What the difference is this now has the Darton Dual Sync 2020 cams that are slaved together in a way that they can't come out of tune or timing. They're anchored in the same positions, so they're gonna, any cable stretch or string stretch, anything, it's going to equalize. That's the other thing, the cable guard. The cables cross at your center shot, dead set center shot height, and it stays that way throughout the full draw and shot cycle. I know that's a technology that several bow companies have been trying to achieve for years, and anyone that doesn't know this, just about every, and I'll repeat, just about every bow company out there is paying Darton some type of royalty or another for their patent technologies. I'm actually going to shut up about the Lobo because this is a good podcast episode to get to, and if I tell you everything about the Lobo now, you're not going to give a shit to watch the video I do about it, but I will be doing one soon. I think I've got everything wrapped up. The only other real news I got, working class outdoorsman, still killing it. If you want to get out and bow fish with us next year, you better start booking this year because next summer is already booking up quick. So make sure you get a hold of Captain Nick Mather, Working Class Outdoorsman, and also check out Excel Archery Solutions, XCEL. You can find it all over my social media. I have worked with them to help bring back the Square Up, a product that I firmly believe in. I have used for a long time and has helped me cut a lot of animals' lives short. I don't want to bore you with all that right now. We're about 15 minutes in. We want to get to this podcast. Cody D'Acquisto kills it.
You were born primal. You were born primal.
What the fuck's up, y'all? Modern Assassin firing off from the farm here in the Free State. And joining on the line today, I've got the predecessor, the son of the original Lone Wolf, Andre D'Acquisto. And with me, we got the young buck that, the apple hasn't fallen far from the trees and a lot of bucks have fallen to. This episode, Kills It Podcast, Cody D'Acquisto. What the fuck's going on, brother?
Yeah, what's up, dude?
Same
it's good,
old.
Good to be on the podcast, man. I mean, when I was listening to the intro, I'm like, man, I got to step it up, man, with the D'Acquisto series. It's like we're a notch behind, man, with the voiceover and the cool intro, man. We gotta get onto the level.
Well, dude, the podcast, I should have started this a long time ago, but I am so fucking anal about my own shit. Like, that's why it takes me so long to get a video out, everything else. It's because if there is something I can do or I have an idea for, I can't not implement it. It's like, I'm my own toughest critic.
I hear you there, man. It's a rough road in that sense, and anybody that I think knows me too, I have the same problem. I just overthink everything. So, and I overthink it to the point to where, except I'm the opposite. Nothing ever happens because I'm like, oh no, it's got to be perfect, and it can never be exactly perfect. And then it just crumbles. But on a side note, I think it helps with hunting. You know, I think that trait is good to have in the whitetail woods, though.
You know, I'm the same way. We've talked, I'm the same way. I overanalyze, I overthink, and then I rethink everything over, but from a different view. It's just never ending. And sometimes I think about when I was young and I'll just say, novice to whitetails, and, I didn't know how good their noses were. I didn't do much for scent control when I first started hunting. And I think about some of the encounters that I had with big bucks and shit of just dumb blind luck wandering into the woods. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wonder if now my knowledge almost sometimes hinders my intuitions because I think too much instead of just kind of going with the flow.
And that, dude, I agree 100%. I think definitely that can be, I think that's the death of a lot of people. So many people are sitting there and that's where I feel like, because I've even had friends, like we'll be scouting or something and they know how I overthink stuff, and whether it be a social media post or a video or some how-to or something, and then I'll just act on sign and set up and be like there's no question, there's no, in my head I'm playing it through, but I am a little more quicker to act. But so many people get stuck, I think, in the like, okay, well, which tree? And then they overthink the tree. And then I usually go back to like gut first feeling. Like wherever I first think I should be is usually the right spot. I've just known from years that like I start nitpicking things and then I slide over or something and then I'm sitting in that tree like, motherfucker, and I've learned to kind of trust the instinct, but so many people I think would be better off, like you said, just, kind of throwing a dart at the map, honestly.
It's hard to sometimes separate what's intuition and what's a random thought. But I mean, I think everybody has kind of been in a position or been in a tree and been like, fuck, I knew I should have been facing that other way. Or, man, I knew if I had just gone 5 feet higher above that branch that I would have had the shot. Or, you know, I think we've all had that moment and said, like, I knew it, or I knew I should have.
Oh, definitely. Hands down.
Those are the moments that stick out the most, actually. They're the ones you never let go, and you got to learn from too.
And that, like you said, I mean, you're never going to really learn until you have those moments. And those are the things that teach you the lessons. Like, so, you know, and then, you know, next time, okay, well, shit, next time I'm not going to make that happen. Or even trimming. Like, I'm real bad with that. Like, and I know a lot of you public land guys out there and whatever can't touch a branch or whatnot, but having shots, like, I love cover and I love being in cedars and stuff like that and in low and thick. But at the same time, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Like, if you don't spend some time trimming, and sometimes you got one lane, and there's been so many times where I'm like, okay, no, I'm thinking cover over shot, and I just can't, you know, I can't squeeze the shot off, or I hit a limb, or just, so even stupid things like that, you adjust, you know, adapt for the next time. And
the thing is you never know. Had you cut that limb, maybe he would have noticed that gap or would have seen you move to get your bow. You know, like, same thing. Yeah. People will get a trail cam picture and be like, man, I knew I should have hunted there that day. This big buck walked right through one that day. It's like, well, if you were there, you might not have.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's a very good point, Garrett, because so many people, like, I've heard that so many times, and they show me a picture. Look, this deer was right under my stand. And I'm thinking, well, he was probably under that stand because you weren't there.
Exactly.
Like, you know, I mean, and people aren't thinking enough about their setup and the wind direction and their scent. And a lot of these deer are moving through those areas regularly, and they're not when these people are on post because their wind is catching these deer way far off. And so many people are getting busted, and they don't even know they're getting busted. Like, it's that is happening so much out there, and I realized it a long time ago, and I'm 100% confident that. And people overthink that too, and I used to overthink it, but like, oh man, okay, what am I going to do because these deer are going to bust me, or these deer are going to bust me, or my scent's going there. And when realistically, like, who gives a fuck if your scent's going there, and who gives a fuck if those deer bust you, as long as you're right for the deer you're trying to kill, or as long as you're right for the spot that you're in, and you have a sense of what's happening with movement and where deer are coming from and what you're trying to capitalize on, because you're never going to get it all, you know?
Yeah, and you know, it's really interesting to hear, and that's a perfect point, that if you bump other deer, why does it matter if you're not bumping or the deer that you have bumped are not impeding on the deer that you're hunting? Which is
sometimes
what I was going to say is a cool, crazy, and perspective that shows your expertise and your dedication, because a lot of people, when you talk about deer hunting, you know, they're talking plural. They're talking about the herd. They're talking about deer in the area. They're not talking about this big mainframe 10 that is bedding in this area that's been seen coming out here. You know, a lot of people, they're thinking about the deer herd in general, and it's kind of, you're hoping a good buck shows up, not necessarily always a specific buck. So what I was basically getting at is, like, there's never a right answer for this shit. Like, it all depends what you're doing, what you got, what you're working with, as to when and what matters.
And that's the thing. I mean, if I'm getting to, sometimes I actually purposely or like to bump those deer out, because, you know, when it depends on, like, the type of ground you're in and what you're hunting. But sometimes I'll have so many eyes that, like, I need to get rid of some of those eyes. And it is a tough nut to crack. Like, when you're exposed late season on a food source, like, let's say 10 feet off the ground in a bare tree, being super still, waiting for that big boy to come out at last light. And you got, a big deer population, or you're hunting a small piece in the rut that's like, loaded with deer, and, like there's different circumstances, but I like to eliminate the eyes, because if I can kick them does out, or them smaller bucks that I don't want anything to do with, then that only is going to improve my success. And I only got to beat that big one, because I got news for you. Them does are more cagey than those bucks are. Them old does, I mean, that is their job.
I was going to say, especially old does that have had, more than one generation of offspring.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's their role. They're like
mama bear.
They're there they're there to protect the herd. I mean, and you see them does come out, and even on properties that aren't that densely populated, like, and that's one big mistake that I've made throughout the years, is I don't kill does. I just don't shoot them, and I need to start shooting them just to because it's also, I think, important to keep fresh genetics coming into your property, because you can get dominating genes that take over, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, like, it can be horrible. I mean, Mother Nature does a good job, but I mean, you also have to chip in, I think.
Does can about rule the roost when outside of rut. Like, I've seen infields dominant does push big bucks around that are still in velvet and shit, like, to just get them away, especially if they have young that are nursing. They kind of seem to like their space sometimes. But yeah, does can be not only the more weary, but sometimes very dominant as well. And like you said, keep out younger bucks, that could be bringing in other genetics. A lot of times they do not stand for young bucks. It's kind of like a horny ass teenager just coming up, and they don't know the game yet. They're just being a pain in the ass. And they're like, look, get out of here, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny to see them big mature deer in the rut too, and there's so much chasing going on and dogging, but until that doe is really ready, is like, that's when you see that big boy like start to get agitated. But I mean, I've watched a big old deer, whatever you want to call. I mean, I don't know how old he was. I'm not going to get into that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5. Like, well, he was an older deer. Didn't have that great a rack, but I knew he was old. He's big bodied and just kind of dominant. But that deer fed within about 70 or 80 yards downwind of a small group of deer. There was about 2 does and a couple small bucks, and these small bucks were dogging this doe back and forth in the field all evening. And that old buck never lifted his head. And I actually have this on film from this year. It was pretty cool. But that buck never lifted his head. And then all of a sudden, like a snap of fingers, that deer stopped eating, walked over to that doe, literally ran the smaller bucks off, and then he bred that doe right in the field. It's like he knew exactly what was going on, and he wasn't even wasting his time until she was actually ready. It was just, yeah, there's definitely old bull, young bull type stuff.
Oh yeah, the sign of maturity. I mean, it's like, you think about it like a bar. You got all the young bucks in there. They're all horned up. They don't know what's going on. They're just being a fucking bother. You gotta let the girls enjoy their time and wait till they're ready to make your move. And if male species of pretty much anything, what are they doing? They're feeding, they're fucking, or they're fighting, right? So if the doe's not ready to breed with them, then they're gonna fight amongst each other, and the big buck knows he ain't gonna waste his energy on that. You know what I mean? And you see that same reaction even in dogs. When a female's in heat, if she's not ready, she will not let a male dog anywhere near her. But that second that it turns on, she just is ready to breed. That biological trigger is just almost instant.
Yeah, she knows.
Same thing, like, why you got the young bucks making scrapes and running around and chasing does and everything earlier. The big bucks know it's not quite time yet. They're reserving their energy. You know, they're putting on the fat more than burning the calories. It's not their first rodeo. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's a crazy world, man. And it's cool to witness and watch. But you know, I mean, I think even delving back to our original thing of just you know, bumping deer in scent and just overthinking, like it's all situational. Time of year, how many deer you got, how big of a piece you're hunting. Just there's a lot of factors.
Yes, and that's why it's weird. Everybody kind of speaks so matter-of-factly about things, and it's like, you know, of course there's always exceptions. But, you know, so how is it that you've taken your kind of all-out overthinking and everything, as I do, same way, and applied it to custom gear? To bumping that big buck or finding whatever the situation is, like we're talking about, every situation can vary. So you're trying to create gear that will accommodate every situation.
Yes, 100%. So, I mean, and I know I've said this before, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but custom gear is just like Lone Wolf was back in '84 when Dad started it. It's just like a lot of other phenomenal inventions. Like, it's a lot of these things were designed by people because they just wanted to use them. And necessity is the mother of invention, and where you're not getting something that you decide you need, I guess, you know, you have to alter things or make your own product to I guess make your or to, you know, create your tool, you know, your perfect tool. And not everybody does this. Some people are just happy with what they have, and sometimes, like, the product that you're looking for is out there already. Like, I mean, you know,
or sometimes you have an idea to just improve an existing product.
Well, exactly. So, I mean, let's say you're a butcher, right? You got a set of knives, right? Like, you may be 100% happy with those set of knives, and they do the job for you. You know, but maybe let's say over the course of years, you're like, you know what? If this blade was just a half inch longer, and it had, like, you know, this much more handle, and it was curved right here, so I would miss. So I'd be able to cut this better, or something. Or, you know, I'm not a butcher. I have no idea
whatever.
But I'm just trying to throw an example. Well, then you make your own, you know. And back in the day, there was a need for a mobile tree stand and a tree stand that lasted and that was light and that was portable. And that was created, you know, by the old man so long ago. And that stand was so ahead of its time. And I don't think people realize that, but it was so ahead of its time that it's 35 years later or 30 years later. And now we have just now, 30 years later, innovated it. Like, it almost for so long, it didn't even need it because it was so far ahead of the game that you weren't even thinking, okay, what could be different? And that's where I think I had a really good concept, or I had a really good grasp on this, because I came up hunting out of nothing but the old man's products. Aside from a few times where I would kind of, you know, use whatever was there for a setup, or snag a buddy's set if I didn't have something, or if I was out on the road, maybe pick something up at the store on a trip out of state. But I, like, my entire hunting experience has been with those products. So, you know, ever since I was 12, 13 years old and started hunting with these things, like, eventually I started to develop my own style, my own way of hanging stands, and my own way of doing things. And that never stopped with Dad either. Like, he's always taking notes. He has such a mechanical mind. He has ideas for Tupperware that, like, you'd be like,
I believe
shit,
it.
That's a damn
I totally believe it.
I mean, he's that kind of person. Now, I'm not to that point. Like, I'm not constantly looking at everything. Like, I don't sit down in a chair at Subway and think, like, you know what, this booth could be way better. Like, I don't get into that. He does. Like, that his mind is always turning. But me, when it comes to something I'm passionate about and something that I like, I am so OCD and particular about my things. Like a lot of people don't know this about me, but, like, if I wear a certain, like, my socks have to be, like, all the socks in my drawer have to be the same socks, and they have to be the same brand. They can be different colors, but I could never put on two different socks, Garrett. I could never put on, like, an ankle sock that was white, and then, like, a calf high sock that was, like, green. I would scratch my skin off to my bone. Like I can't. That drives me nuts.
I can relate to that. So yeah.
So there's like these things that I'm particular about, and when I get into like a hobby or something that I like to do, like whether it be fishing or hunting, like I got my baits, like fishing. I got my baits how I like them. I got them in the same exact tackle box. There's 5 slots in my bag, and those all 5 slots are set up the same way. And there's certain things I'm weird about, and that's how I get with my hunting gear, and that's how I get with my setup. So that sparked early on with me, and even through development with XOP, and then using old original Lone Wolf stuff. I literally was like meshing them all together. Like I was taking a XOP I-beam and I sanded it down like as low as I could possibly get it to where it would hold my weight and be strong enough. And then I put it on one of Dad's old original, like 93, like the original Assault. Well, it was before the Assault. It was actually called the original. It was that hang-on bottom base platform. You know, I trimmed down a seat. I had my seat pad like I like it. I was flipping the seat up to hold my gear. I had little latches on the side that held my sticks. Like all this stuff was done way prior to any design like this.
And out of necessity for your particular style.
Exactly. And I never thought, and on the business stance, I did think about it early on, like even years ago. Like Dad and I talked about making a titanium stand like 6 years ago, but literally I said, he's like, oh, we should do it. Let's do it. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, people aren't ready for it. We're just going to get bashed. Like nobody's ready to spend that kind of money. And now in the last like 6 or 7 years, I've seen just inflation amongst everything get so high. And not that like we're trying to make a bunch of money, but like titanium's fucking expensive. You know what I mean? Like,
no doubt.
Having some, like to make a product that you can actually make money off of and make a living, but then also have it at a price point that somebody can afford, that they're going to see value in. It's the market and what it demands, it's all there. So when I started seeing bows come up to $1,200 and I started seeing these crossbows at a couple $1,000 and shit, you can't buy a Sitka outfit for under, I don't even know. I've never hunted out a
$600 a jacket. Just the jacket's $600.
But I know it's expensive. Exactly. And that's something you're going to walk through the timber or maybe burn out in 2 years. So long story short, I think the original leap of this, the design and development was done. I mean, it was all there. We knew what we wanted to do. And that's where like I could take my half-ass makings of this stuff. Me and Dad collab our minds in what we want to see out of this. And then he uses his past, decades and decades of manufacturing experience. And it was like the A-team, I mean, like all the good ideas that we both had, merged them together. And the object was to make a hunting system, like just the entire system, not just a set of sticks, not just a stand. It was like, okay, let's make them together and let's make them ultra lightweight and let's make them functional to where they not only work in a tree, but they carry the gear. So, and when I seen the industry and the tide change of price points, I'm like, you know what? I think we can finally do this, because we knew it was going to cost a lot to make it, because, cutting out a solid billet sheeting is pricey. So, and I was like, let's do it. It was finally there. And we still get harped on about the price a little bit, but anybody who's serious about the sport never even says a word about that, because they're like, oh shit.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things I got to speak with your dad for a good bit at ATA, which was pretty cool, because like I said, just talking to him for a few hours, I can tell he probably has an idea for Tupperware. Like that does not surprise me at all. You know what I mean? But one of the things I was telling him is when I bought my first bow, I had a hand-me-down from my cousin that I never even killed a deer with that bow. But when I was in college, I decided I wanted to bow hunt more. I wanted to hunt more, and I specifically wanted to bow hunt because I always liked bow hunting or just shooting a bow in general. So the bow I bought was, I think, $225. I had a plastic sight on it, like the housing, everything. The whole fucking thing was plastic except for the 2 screws that put it into the bow. I think I got it for like $15 in a discount bin at a bargain store. And all mismatched camo, not even camo, most of it, just neutral colored shit. But I saved up and I spent $450 on a Lone Wolf sit and climb because I knew even then that I can shoot a bow. I can get better at shooting the bow. But if I can't get where I need to be to kill these deer, it doesn't matter how good a shot I am. So I put way more money into my tree stand than I did even my entire bow setup.
Well, and look at this. Like you hit it right on the head, Gary. And look at this. You were just you still got that stand. And
I
that
do.
stand's still in working. It's like when you buy something that is quality built, it's gonna last, and you're gonna get the benefits from it. And I mean, it's like even like the stuff now. Not only I mean, it's so tough because you have to walk the line with everybody nowadays, and everybody's a critic, and everybody wants to be the first one to have a review in on something or speak their mind. But even with this stuff, like we set out to make a stand. It jacks me up when I'm at a show and I talk to an old timer that's like 65 years old, and that dude is still rocking an old wood V-bar climber from '87 that they bought off of Dad for like cash in the back parking lot of the Pennsylvania show, the Harrisburg show. It's like I'm like, you know what, like, and they come and they say, hey man, like you think you could find me these knobs? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know if those like. And they're still using that stand. It's like,
dude, it's true because I mean, one of the ones from Harrisburg was actually a buddy of mine. He uses it's not wood, but it's the original metal big V bracket. And he loved that stand so fucking much, he bought another one because he saw it for sale. And I was like, dude, you could have just upgraded to a new one. He's like, I've never used a new one, but I knew I like this one. Like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. Like, especially old timers, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
And in a day and age too, where a lot of stuff is like, now I don't think anything is really built like it used to be. Like you look at cars, you look at anything like, so be it. A lot of stuff is imported now. And that, that is what it is. XOP stuff is imported, and I sell that. I help design for it. But XOP is a company and is a brand that is appeasing to entry level people and giving them a quality product that they can get and not break the bank. Just like you can go buy, you don't have to buy American made tools. You don't have to buy Snap-on. So many people go to Harbor Freight and buy tools because like they don't use tools that much to where they're going to go spend $2,000 on a Snap-on, set of wrenches or whatever. I mean, so like when we set out with custom gear, we wanted it to be nothing short of the quality and the design and development and everything that the original Lone Wolf was. And that's why we even chose to not only make everything here in the States, assemble everything here in the States, box everything here in the States, but we also are sourcing U.S. metal manufacturers, because a lot of people don't even realize this. They boast about how they're assembled in the States, but they're importing stuff, or they're not importing all their stuff, but they're importing their metal because they're getting it $20 less a sheet, or they're doing this or that. Well, we've even taken a step further and made sure to source American-made metal, and that's why we've been pushing that, and we're trying to trademark that phrase because everything from start to finish is right in Michigan. So
that's badass.
It's just cool to kind of say. I mean, and not that I have anything against import, but this right here, it was dear to me, like knowing the start and knowing, the risks that Dad took back in the day and the work that he put in to build the brand, and so long after, like it was important to me that we keep it here and that we, don't cut any corners. And it's just, we want something's going to last. And this will.
No doubt. And I mean, you got the warranty to back it up, and the full lifetime unquestionable warranty, which American made, the warranty, you honestly can't beat that. And I don't get why guys complain. I mean, the price point, what do you expect though? That's why there are the tree stands that are, maybe outsourced, or they just don't have as much innovation, or they don't have as much tooling or as much expense in the material. But I mean, you're not paying, you're paying for a Ferrari here. You're not paying for, a badass like Corvette. Like, sure, they're fucking nice as shit too, and a lot cheaper, but it's a different ball game. Like what custom gear is, and that's why it's a perfect name, custom gear too, because it's not just your everyday run of the mill. Sure, it's produced in large scale for people that want it, but it is tailored and custom made to the guys that specifically want the best.
Well, yeah, and I think exactly, and I think a lot of people have this common misconception that because Lone Wolf is such a big name and has been so prevalent in the industry, they have this idea that it's some giant corporate outfit, and that like Lone Wolf Custom Gear, like we're so removed from like what's going on, and like, oh, we're making all this stuff in mass production, and we got like these giant warehouses, and it's like we're just essentially like just kind of pulling the wool over on people, and people that if people knew, people don't realize that Lone Wolf was started in my dad's 2-car garage in like right outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, back in '84. It didn't leave that garage until probably like 2000. And then we were in a small warehouse right in Milwaukee. And even up until when the company sold, like there was 4 to 5 employees that busted their ass. My family, my mom, my sister, my dad, like this was a family business. This was a mom and pop business. It was never anything. And even when Dad sold his patents and his tree stands to the new owners and licensed the name. Didn't sell the name, but licensed it. Even when that happened, that was on the turning point of Lone Wolf. Really, Lone Wolf took a step in the end and really was becoming a very seriously known brand. And then they moved it to their own operation. But even now with custom gear, like, I mean, this is a family run outfit with a couple employees, which are all family. And we have a manufacturing facility that it's not huge by any means up in Michigan. And it's, so I mean, like, dude, Dad is up in Michigan assembling stands right now himself. Like, I mean, so you tell me that we're some big corporate outfit that's like, I mean, especially after, like launching and just trying to get this stuff done. And with all the COVID, the COVID restrictions and like how that kind of set us back now this year when we're really trying to keep in stock. And that was the big thing last year. Like people were upset that they couldn't get their stock and they couldn't get stands, but that they didn't realize that, I mean, it was a couple people trying to pump out that many stands and get them to guys. So I think it's important that people know that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, but it might be humbling.
Yeah. And I think if guys knew that too, they'd understand a little bit more about how custom gear came out last year and some of the issues. And I mean, I will say I understand where some of the guys getting some of the things that had issues were upset with. But you guys resolved it and you took care of it. Well, and it's kind of... What I was going to say is it's, if something's wrong, you at least got to give chance of correction. I mean, you at least got to give you guys a chance to fix it before people just lost their shit.
And that's the thing. It's like, so, I think a lot of people don't understand too, like, a Ferrari you see today, that's not what Ferraris looked like 10 years ago. The Lone Wolf stands that you see today are not what they look like in 91. Like this, I mean, the development of a product, especially a bulletproof product that withstands the test of time, is a process. And I feel 100% that what we released last year is, I mean, as far as everything, thought, manufacturing, like dimension, all that function was hands-on there. Like where we dropped the ball a little bit was the cosmetic issue. And originally when we started water jet cutting products, like, I mean, we were like, oh, like, okay, this looks awesome. This looks badass. Like, it's got, yeah, there's some cut marks in there, but like, that's nothing that's gonna, whatever. And, but tolerances became, a little bit more than we liked. And some of the stuff we seen, we were genuinely, okay, yeah, we can't have this. This is a little over the top. Let's start the corrective process. And as soon as we seen that, I mean, we started tracking it down. I mean, the little issues that we had and the hiccups right off the bat, like, I feel like we've been 100%. We've gotten people any replacement parts they needed. Like even the cutting now, our stands are all going through a final cleanup process after their water jet cutting. And I mean, dude, these things are buttery this year. I mean, it is night and day. And it's, and also the things we've implemented now, like we didn't just make the same 1.0 we did last year. The 1.0 is now, it's different. It has new features. It has built-in traction. It has engravings. It's all, I mean, it's, we never want to leave well enough alone. And it's all about implementing and building in innovation, not adding on. So, when we can change and we can upgrade, we do. When we can fix a problem, we do. And that's what we've done. We've tightened up the ship. We have a new manufacturing facility because, the sad thing is like, some of that stuff we weren't happy with and we made a change. So like,
you got to adapt. Yeah, you got to adapt.
Exactly.
And I mean, just the Lone Wolf Custom Gear and you and your father coming back into this, Andre, coming back into this and releasing new products and bringing these innovations that he's kind of just not put out there yet and making something truly custom. I understand why guys were, you'd be upset if you got a Ferrari and there was like some weird tooling marks on the side of it and whatever. Sure, it drives the same, but you'd be a little upset about. But I think you guys came out with the next level with what, like I was saying, it's more custom gear and it is your top of the line. It is the most expensive, but it is the most functional, the most fit, the most adaptive. There's a reason for it. But for you guys to come out this year with it, in my eyes, if Lone Wolf Custom Gear would have basically kept the stands the way they were last year because they were so well innovated, but like you said, tightened up all them tolerances, tightened up all the tooling, put on a different finish. Instead of having, stickers or logos, everything's engraved. You've taken it to the next level, but then to add in some more features, you're not just showing what it should have been last year. You're showing the top dogs again. It's indisputable.
And that's the thing. It's like, so after, during development of that first stand, I mean, Dad and I were beating down prototypes like a lot. And like, our stands go through a rigorous amount of testing and, and there's so many things that get said out in the industry and like, little hearsay stuff that, finds their way back to me. And it just makes me laugh. Like the whole patent issues and like the TMA testing and like what Dad used to be on the board for TMA. He was actually involved with implementing some of those procedures and standards. So, I mean, like you can bet your ass our stands are tested to the top utmost. I mean, TMA, the Tree Stand Manufacturers Association is an awesome association.
It is definitely needed.
It is definitely needed 100%. The thing that sucks is like the side hole, like the loopholes and stuff, and it's the money and the stuff that you have to put in there. Like as far as harnesses go, the harness industry became popular, and I don't know many people that spend $500 on a stand that don't have their own specific hunting harness that they like or their saddle or whatever they're using. So, having to dump money and stuff like that is just, it's one of those things where like, okay, if we can avoid it, like now we test our stuff beyond TMA standards. I know exactly what TMA standards are because I test all of XOP stuff to TMA standards. Now, when we test Lone Wolf Custom Gear stuff, we actually go above and beyond those requirements. Like, so it's not that we're like, so we beat this thing up and And then even like I was getting at, like, so we run this thing. Well, now last season, even after running the final product all season and beating it down, well, there's tweaks. And we've changed quite a few things. It's like, hey, you know what, Dad, I think this offset bracket needs to be moved out another quarter inch. I just think it'll bite a little better. Let's do that for this year. Hey, you know what? One thing that I was adamant about, the thing that pissed me off the most about that setup this year, listen to this. When I stacked my stuff up, I got pissed at lifting the cables up. I was so pissed that I had to lift the cables up every time. And that's no big deal. It's really not much. But
you mean folding the seat down, having to lift the cables?
So when you before you fold the beam down, or however your process is, but the sticks plug and integrate into the casting, right? Or the platform. So the cable, they have to go under the cable because just the cable is sitting up there and they don't stack as well if they're over. Now with the J hooks they do, but last year they didn't, right? So I got so pissed that I'd have to lift the cables up just to slide my sticks under and they would catch. Well, I'm like, you know what, Dad? I called them up when we started doing the drawings for this year. I'm like, put a damn groove, follow the arc of the cable, and I want you to cut a groove into the top of the platform.
So the cable can recess through it.
Yes, I'm like, I want that cable sitting flush in there so I can just press it down and put my sticks all over it. Like stupid little stuff like that. That it's not stupid.
It's not. That's innovation. That's the little things that set custom gear apart from just a stick that will get you up a tree.
And that's the thing. It's so little things like that. Even now, cutting into the cutting in traction too, and just tiny things like that. That like, they go from using the product. They go from running into a little snag, and it's like, it's and even the aider thing, like pounding those aiders all year. Like, I mean, talk about an awesome addition to a climbing stick, any climbing stick. Like you've seen now, 4 or 5 companies literally come out with that same product. And
it changed my thought on a stick. I'm not going to lie. It changed my thought on a stick, and it changed my thought as well as an aider. As you know, I've used the Wild Edge steps, and I like them. Yeah. And the thing was that, everybody's got all these different videos of all this shit with these aiders and everything else. And, a lot of them, yeah, they save you weight and you can get up a tree and all, but almost every one of them, I found that the expel of extra energy or extra movement or chance for extra noise or doing it in the dark, especially if you're hauling camera gear and everything else, I just found it just was not suitable. But the way you've integrated the aider and it's stiff, it's kind of stupid. No one did that before, honestly. Like, I don't know how no one else did that.
Well, those are the best designs and inventions. It's like when you think about it, like dude, why didn't somebody slice bread before the first person sliced it? Before that, they were just biting it, or I don't know. I mean, like you look at a Post-it note, just a little bit of adhesive on the back of a piece of paper that you can stick onto something to like. You think like, well, what the hell? Why didn't we do that before? Why didn't we just put a little adhesive on the sticker? Like it's.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel; just improve it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like the biggest pain in the ass, and I never used aiders because like it's like you said, I'm looking at, and it's the same reason why I don't use an ozonics. It's the same reason why I don't go crazy with gadgets, or it's the same reason why I don't bring rattling horns or a grunt tube or anything with me, because I look at my efficiency and like what I'm doing when I'm out there, and I look as like, okay, is this gonna give me more benefit than the hassle it is? And like me, like I have no problem. I'll hang that stick as high as I can. And I'll do it just a straight pull up. I don't need a damn aider to get up to it. Like I'll do that if I want to, and to me that's easier than dicking around grabbing a rope ladder out of my pack and then making sure it's hooked onto my stick right, and then flailing around and banging my shin against the goddamn bark of a tree when I'm trying to get up it and drop my camera out of my backpack. You know what I'm saying? I think all that's running through my head, and I'm like, and I literally just come back to it like, nope. And then I just cut it out, I
mean, and some of it, sure, it looks good climbing a tree or a telephone pole in a fucking backyard. But when you got gear and you're in the woods, and it's just not the same thing. It's just not. And I'm not saying they don't have their places. Like, for instance, I know a guy that kills a good bull elk every year from a tree stand. Now he's got, I believe, 6-7 miles to get to where there's trees by a watering hole. So he has to take the gear that far. Now, those few pounds at that point make a difference.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with you. And I think we need to get that guy in custom gear setup. But
I think
but
you're
I
right.
want to. That's what intrigues me too about like even the setup about like Western hunters and stuff like that, because when you are, and that's what's so cool about these aiders. So when you can design a product that I guess solves the problem and also functions way better than any other, like, I mean, these things, they let you minimize, you can take 2 less sticks, you can get higher, you'll never miss them with your boot. You know, they keep their form, they're out from the tree, like just the benefits of something like that. That's when you really start to get dangerous with an idea. And when something like that can just be, something so simple can be implemented onto a stick to even more so improve, you know, its climbability and function. And these things work even more than an aider. They work as like a stick set. Like when you put your weight so far below the point of contact on that tree, it locks them sticks in so tight, and it's like it almost, you know, instead of having to step on the stick itself and having that initial set-in phase to where it locks and gets tight.
Yeah, you kind of refer to it as pumping on it to set the step.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like this is doing all that for you, and it's just one of those deals. And I mean, you know, I know we're kind of spinning off, but it's just about the little innovations, the little improvements, how we can make stuff easier, and just, you know, I mean, solve a problem.
And I'm the same way. I do put some physical effort in it to skip space. Like I was looking at the measurements of the sticks and everything, and with the aider on the mini, I think I can probably get 6 feet without ridiculous crazy effort.
Dude,
just
100%.
with my climbing style. And that,
I mean,
I've go ahead.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. You can keep going.
So I was just going to say that being able to get, you know, 5 to 6 feet without fully stretching, I think it's just going to be again kind of a game changer with just that simple little aider on it. Because again, I use the steps. I love the steps. That I never found a tree I couldn't get in, but I found sometimes that with the weight on my shoulders and how much I'm reaching up to save space, I'm reaching up as high as I can every time I would tie a knot. And the stick with the aider, there's less reaching up, less knots. And I also like the shape of the stick to where once it's anchored in, you can use it as a handle, not just like the step itself, but the center post. You know, you can grab and pull that to get yourself up, and that's where I get most of my leverage.
Oh yeah, and even taking, you know, like I've used those type of steps once, like the steps you're talking about, and I mean, I just, you know, minimizing even just the things that you have to attach to the tree, I think is a big thing. Like this year, I ended up, I mean, I did a lot of configuration testing this year early on, and I mean, you know, I'm hunting every day. I'm hanging multiple. I'm trying to think of how much. I tried to calculate it out to how many times I hung a stand this last season, and it was like, I mean, it was something crazy. I never really got the final number, but it was like maybe like 146 or something. Like I don't know what we were. What I was doing, but I was looking at the meat of the season, and I'll hang. You know, I think I probably sat in a permanent set, even on private ground, maybe 4 or 5 times this year. And I mean, I'm hanging two, sometimes 3 stands a day, every day, or as much as I can get out. And so I did a lot of testing with the full length sticks. I did fulls and compacts. I did all compacts. I did 4 of them. And then when I really dove into the aider, I ended up, and everywhere I went, I was hunting with 2 compact sticks with the 8 on them. And I was getting, like, I'd have no problem getting 12, 13 feet, like, with just 2 sticks. And now, and that's in a tree with absolutely no limbs. So when I needed to get higher, there's a lot of limbs around in this kind of stuff out here. But, I mean, so if you look at a guy who likes to get, 20 feet or even 25 feet, or you toss 3 or even 4 of those compact sticks. But like me, that was 2 belts every setup and then my stand. Like, you're minimizing belts onto the tree, you're minimizing gear onto your stand, having to mess with certain things. I would pop those 2 sticks out so quick. I hang the first one as high as I can get it, and I always do a little step with my boot onto the bark. Like, so my first boot is just toe onto the bark, and then it's a super easy, just my right foot right into the aider.
Yep,
and then
that's exactly what I'm planning on doing too.
And it's like you're getting just that another couple feet off the ground. It's very easy. It's not like it's like, I think some people might think like, oh, that's dangerous. It's really not. I mean, you're only about a foot over like what your standard like toe would be reaching lifting up. So I typically do that, and then late season, even when it was getting bulky, I'll add 1 more stick onto the setup, and I'm 15 feet all day, and even if I stack them super close to each other. So just minimizing gear, minimizing stuff on there, and then you want to go, for a while I was running 2 longs. So 2 longs with the 8ers, I mean, I was over 16 feet easy. I mean, because now I got that extra, I got just that extra couple feet makes a big difference if you need that. But the compact ones are so nice because they're like completely within your stance profile.
Exactly.
And
that's
low profile.
That's the huge thing that I find advantage. And okay, perfect example. Like I was just saying, there you never expel more energy than in the in between. And that's not only just for climbing up and down the tree, but that's also to getting to the tree. I never expel more energy than when I'm trying to duck underneath of something. You know what I mean? And you're trying not to go 100%. Super low because now you're doing a squat with all your weight on your back. You're trying to be quiet. You're trying not to touch limbs or touch the ground. And then something sticking up above your back hangs on that branch. You can't reach back over it exactly. You're making noise. And that's where you spend a fuck ton of energy. You start sweating. You start getting frustrated. And that is one of the biggest things about the packability of the stand, and why I'm looking at the mini sticks with the 8er versus a long stick, because like you said, the less straps the better. So strap 2 long sticks. But for my style hunting and what I need, it's not just getting up the tree. A lot of it is getting to it. And that's why the mini sticks, the way they integrate so well is ingenious. You finally, like you said, you made a system, not 2 pieces, but an integrated system.
Oh yeah. I mean, and now you get those, and I'll even, I'll do it too. Like different farms or different areas I'm hunting too. I started to mess around with that. Like I always have a couple spare, like, sticks in the truck or whatnot. Like if I'm on a walk on piece and I got to just, put on 3/4 of a mile on a crop field edge or something out, in the Midwest here, 2 long sticks ain't gonna bother me. But if I'm ducking, if I'm in like a Kansas creek bottom that is thicker than shit, like I don't want those long sticks in my setup. I'm wanting the small compact sticks that are staying within the silhouette of my platform. And I mean, I don't think people realize too how compact and low profile the setup is, especially now. In last year, we had just the grommet plugs, which is awesome for silence and durability. And I myself used the straps to get around them. I think a lot of people had a little issue with that and running the straps perfectly. Now with how anal and OCD I am, I'm weird, dude. I will literally like smooth out my straps, make sure there's no rolls in them, go around the same spot, hook it up, tighten it. Like I have a system. Most people aren't like that. And thanks to one of our pro staff guys, Rob, him and Dad started talking, and to me, to whereas that wasn't a problem with my setup, like I never seen that as something I needed to fix because I'm so particular with my straps. Rob and Dad were like, okay, these things they're not staying still enough. They're just not as solid as we wanted them to be. So they came up with the J hook. Both of them kind of sat down and collabed on it. And now we got that simple little J clamp that you actually goes through the sticks, hooks to the bottom of the platform, and you just do like one little turn with the knob, and you could throw that fucker out of your truck on the interstate, and those sticks ain't coming off of it. So I mean, that's another little cool innovation. Working with staff and just improving on the products. And now not only like you got the lowest profile setup, the most sturdiest setup. Like I mean, and it's dual function, holding your gear. It's just a good good system.
I mean, in my opinion, it's the best system out there for a tree stand. It sets itself apart with the innovation and everything else. And yeah, the J hooks, I know exactly what you're talking about, the way you pack. I'm the same thing. Everything goes in the same pocket every single time, every single tree. When I come down, I pack everything up just the way I want it, where it should be. Same thing. My bag hangs from the same spot. My straps secure things the same way. It's just that way it's almost thoughtless, and I can literally do it in the dark. Completely blind. I know how things go. I've done it so many times. It's muscle memory, and I can do it silently and efficiently even in the dark for the most part.
Yep.
So
and that's really what it comes down to, is getting your system down like the right way. Because everybody's going to tweak their stuff a little different, and that's what I tell somebody too that even gets into like mobile hunting in general, or let's say he picks up an XOP setup and he's used to a climber, or he wants to upgrade and really go top of the line and get the custom gear stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, just set it up a few times. You will very quickly get into the rhythm that works for you, and you'll start to figure out these little things that, these little idiosyncrasies that you'll develop, and you'll have it down pat in no time. Like, and there's a lot of little tips and tactics that I plan on doing videos for. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, hey, well, how are you doing this? Or how are you doing that? And everything from getting the belt around the tree to, buckles versus no buckles to, stands or size or hanging. So it's just about using it. And like you said, when you use something enough and you develop a system, and it's just, there's no stopping it. And that's why I'm so excited about even the new stand, because I just noticed like 90% of this year, and there was a time too where I was heavily testing the saddle style hunting this year. Like, now I wasn't in a saddle, and I'm not like, very versed in that. I've been using a rock climbing harness for years, but so I tried that, but just like testing the saddle platform and just like testing the different lengths of sticks, I took mind to how much platform I used all year. And I literally had, and what I was doing, all the setups throughout the entire year, wherever I went, different stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Like, we can shrink this thing down. And especially after picking up the saddle platform, and I started hunting out of it like the traditional saddle style. And I quickly didn't like it because I was always scared of like the places that I couldn't cover. And I never felt confident. And that could be because I didn't give it enough time. But then I just said, you know what? Like, I'm look at this different. I turned around and I started hunting it in it like a tree stand. And I was just standing up in it because it's just big enough to actually stand up in. And when I was doing that, I really loved it. My only big flaw with the whole system was like, I had gotten so used to having the tree stand that was carrying my pack. And I got so used to like that,
which is a big part. I mean, displacing your weight again, getting to the tree.
Exactly. It's the trek in, and it's the setup, and it's the doing it quickly. And especially with me, like I take extra caution, and I take extra, like I care more about that than anything, because I'm always late. I am always late. I mean, I don't care what it is. Like, even if I'm on time, I will somehow find a way to make myself get there late. Like,
I hate to admit, I'm the same way. I'll be like, I got 20 minutes instead of being 20 minutes early. I do something for 22 minutes. I'm like, fuck.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'll get up early, have 45 minutes. Like, oh shit, 45 minutes. I got to get in the stand. Like, oh man, well, let me do a quick little workout real quick. And then of course, like, I don't get done for an hour, and I'm like running to the damn stand. But that's where I came into a hiccup with that, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I transport this thing? And now I got to get a new pack, and I got to do this, and my whole shit got flipped upside down. And that's when I was like, we got to do a new hang on, and it's got to be ultralight, it's got to be smaller, and it's got to be able to saddle hunt and hunt like a regular stand. And that's where like the .5 was kind of birthed.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I mean, I even said that on a previous podcast with Clint Campbell. You know, he was talking about how he's going to be running a saddle and take a ghillie suit, so he's adapted for what he needs. And I said, man, I think I'm going to get a little crazy with it. I said, I'm going to take a saddle and the D'Acquisto .5, because I had an encounter with a buck this year, a good 8-point, that if I was in the tree that I wanted to be with a stand, it was a small cluster of trees, but it had really no branches or cover. It was a cluster, and it was too tight for me to really make the versatility of the saddle work, because I would have needed to be tight inside that cluster. Had I had a stand, a little bit more room to just actually stand on the platform, I would have been right where I needed to kill that buck. And instead, I was close, and almost had him, but at 45 yards, and he just it didn't play out. He wandered kind of the other direction, but he should have been dead if I had the equipment to get in where I needed. And I'm not gonna lie, the saddle got me in places that I wouldn't have with typical other tree stands. But I think with the .5, how small it is, like I think the same thing. It's going to be perfect for hunting traditional lock-on tree style stand, or giving you that platform for a saddle.
Exactly. And I look at it like this, and I've always looked at it like that, or like how I'm about to say, it's like when I go out there, like I need to know that I'm going to be able to get wherever I need to be. Now, and I mean, I've never been much of a ground hunter, and I mean, and something about being up in a tree and getting it done, whatnot. I mean, I've taken shots. I've actually missed deer on the ground. I've told that story a couple times. Never thought I was going to get the shot, but I just like, I never want to get in a position. So many people out, hey, why don't you use climbers? And like, even when we'd hit a block of timber that was like just all climber stuff, or like, let's say you're and hey, well, why don't you take the climber? I'm just like, you know what? I don't even want a chance finding this awesome honey hole of a spot, and then it being like some gnarly oak tree that I can't get up
You'll
in,
kick
or like
your own ass forever for not just taking it. Yep.
Well, yeah, exactly. So it's like one of those things where, I mean, I just don't want to take that risk. I never want to be in that position that you just described. And I think, like, why not? I mean, if you're not sacrificing any weight, you're not sacrificing any portability or mobile sense, why would you not have the best of both worlds? It's like, it's just one of those things where we're like, it's like a goddamn sport. I mean, what? Oh shit! I might need a spoon. I might need a fork. Like, well, hey, you either you got a 50-50 shot, or you grab that fucking fork and you're good to go, brother.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, so that's kind of how I look at the .5, and I am amped for a person like you that hunts so much out of a saddle. But also, there's not many people who are, that I would say, that I've talked to, that are as big a saddle hunters as you, but that it seems like everybody who's that big of a saddle hunter is like ride or die saddle, and they are blinded to the fact that anything else would help, and they're just like, boom, saddle. It's the best thing. But you are a guy who has, I think, and I think where that comes in is you have prior knowledge, and you have a lot of tree stand hunting experience before you hopped into the saddle game. And I think that's where you realize, okay, there is a difference, and there is a time for both.
Absolutely.
And why not be?
And I mean, And all those hours in tree stands, be it climbers, lock-ons, everything else, I'm innovating. I mean, I think about the shit that I've thought about for years, and if I could have worked with people more, I think a lot of those things would probably be seen in the market. And I won't lie, I like gadgets and I like tinkering, but the difference is the only things that remain are the things that fucking work. Like, I'm always open to trying a cool new idea. But the thing is, if it doesn't help me kill a deer and get the job done, then it has no place in my arsenal of shit, no matter how cool it seems or anything else. If it is not helping me bleed a deer out, I don't want it. I don't need it.
And that's why. And that's why I'm so pumped about this newfound, I guess, relationship that that we've kind of started. I mean, I know since the day we've met, we've gotten along, but I think we're so similar in the way that I think we hunt, that we're constantly thinking to improve our gear. And I'm excited to have you on board and start talking some designs and see some of these modern assassin ideas maybe come to fruition as lone wolf products. Like it's just. It fires me up. Like I'm getting jacked up just thinking about it.
Dude, I've been jacked about it for a while, and this is kind of the first intro for I guess people to listen to and follow, that myself or Lone Wolf that we are going to be partnering together. And it's been a long time. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I've always kind of done things myself, kind of been that lone wolf, you know what I mean? And like you said, we've always been buddies since we met. And especially after getting to talk with your dad and all too, I think there's a lot of places where what I can bring can help Lone Wolf, and just bring shit to help people kill deer, other people kill deer. Yeah. That's the goal, man.
Oh yeah, man. That's what it's all about. And I'm pumped, man. It's cool to see, even now, and people, I get it from time to time. Like, oh man, like Lone Wolf Custom Gear just became such a SKU extensive brand, like really quick. And it's like, well, it's just because like these ideas are there, and a lot of them have been there for a while, and it's all about just function. And I mean, what we're passionate about is killing deer, and it's hunting, and that's what's showing through it, and that's what we want to bring to the industry,
100%. And I mean, I recently had my TV debut with Tack Driver TV on the Pursuit channel, which was pretty cool. And it was cool too because it was a Sika hunt and from the saddle and all self-filmed and everything, so it was pretty badass. But when you and I talked and decided, we were going to partner up and work together on some things, like I've been more jacked about that than getting on TV. And it's funny, I tell people that and they're like, oh, wow, really? I thought TV would be way bigger. But anyone that's like a die-hard bow hunter, they're like, oh, yeah, 100% get that. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, like I said, the first stand I ever put money in was a Lone Wolf. And just all the innovations, like the way I used my sit and climb is not at all how it was designed to be packed up or anything else. Like I changed the seat, I changed all kinds of shit, but I just, again, using it over the years, I tinkered with it and I adapted what worked. I lost the things that didn't and kept the things that do. There's a ton of shit that I've come up with that I haven't seen anyone else doing in the saddle game. And that's another thing I'm really excited to work with you guys on, is bringing, again, I like sharing information, man. I like doing what I do. I do things a little different a lot of times. I get that, but I don't do something unless I think it fucking works. And it's proven to work, or I don't do it. And I'm excited to just kind of, with the Lone Wolf umbrella and brotherhood, to bring some of these ideas and maybe even new products into the woods to help people get it done.
Oh, dude, hands down. I think, I mean, I'm excited to see what comes from, from our saddle department too. And like with that whole way of hunting. And I think especially with that, so many people are tinkering just to tinker. And I've said this before, but I think people are getting, and that's what I like about you. So many people are so obsessed with their setup for setup's sake, not for the sake of what they're actually investing in that setup to do, which is be successful and harvest deer, kill deer, like, or whatever you're hunting. I mean, so many people, it's like they care more about
getting up a tree than getting up a tree to kill a deer.
Exactly. And they're wanting the lightest weight, and they're wanting to look the coolest, and they're wanting to brag on the forums, and they're wanting to say, well, like, oh yeah, well, I ground down my bolts and I shaved an ounce here, and like, but I think the majority of those people aren't even the ones like your buddy who are packing in miles and miles and miles. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like you said, I'm a tinkerer too, but it stops as soon as I find out like the recipe. And no part of that tinkering process is like, is about anything but being more efficient to get the job done. Like once I get and I may change from year to year, but like once I get my system down, I won't touch my shit ever until something quirks me in my head and I'm like, oh, I got to change this. And I'm like that with packs too. I'm horrible with packs. Something about packs I love. Like even though I hate the concept of packs and I want to get lighter and less, I love little pockets. I love organization, and I love like a systematic approach. So it's like, I mean, I'm just like, I'm the worst, man. You will get me. These Amazon ads, dude, I buy packs all the fucking time.
It's so fucking funny, this stuff you bring up about like the packs or like the fucking socks even. Like, dude, I am the same way. I can't tell you. I probably have 15 fucking book bags. I have 2 climbers. I hunted from a climber forever, or lock-ons I had left up. I have 2 climbers. That's it. And one of them I bought at a yard sale for a buddy. Other than that, I have my one lone wolf, but I've got 15 fucking book bags. Some of them I used one time, and I'm like, oh, no, that didn't work out the way I thought. Oh, well.
Yeah. Dude, my wife is kind of like, I'll have to like hide the pack. She's like, did you get another pack? I'm like, yeah, well, I think this one's going to be like, because it's got, and I'm more, and this is with me, like even beyond the hunting realm. Like I'm in search of the perfect bag that is like, I can have like on my back wherever I go. I can work out of it. I can go to the fucking gym. I can go hunt something down it. Like I want like this holy grail of like everything encompassed in one bag. Like, oh, toss film gear in there. Oh, toss this stuff in there. I pack enough clothes for a weekend fishing trip. Like I'm just, and I got a couple totes down in the basement. Like, I may have 5 t-shirts, but I got a tote full of fucking 26 bags that I've went through over the years that I'm just like, nope, like you said, maybe use it once. Like,
is this first sightings of what could be the Cody D'Acquisto series fanny pack?
So it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. No, because
hunting's the only time fanny pack's allowed to be cool and useful, and no one gives a fuck if you got a fanny pack on if you're hunting.
That's 100% true. And I think so. What I did, I was actually like this whole year, like I've been using a super small sling over the shoulder tactical. It's not a fanny because it doesn't buckle around your waist, but I did rig a carabiner up to it so I could just hook it onto one of my belt loops. So I would have that thing on the seat of the stand, or I'd have it over my shoulder, and I could have it on my chest. It could hold my binos. It could go in the back. I've been thinking about collabing with something small like that, but I'm so weird about packs that I don't even want to open that can of worms, honestly. Like when we started the development of the custom gear pack, which is a pack that is specifically designed for the tree stand and for a bow hunter. Like, no zippers. It's got all top load access compartments, strategic pouches everywhere. It's got, retractable, shoulder straps and all that stuff. Like, and
that probably stressed your brain more than the tree stand itself, didn't it?
Well, no, here's the thing. I backed out. I was like, dude, Dad, I can't even, there's so much stuff. Like I didn't even want to touch it. Like I would give a couple of things here or there, but that was pretty much all dead because I didn't want to touch it. I had so much stuff going on. Like, dude, I cannot even get into a pack right now. I can't even do it. I mean, like, and he knows what we're both looking for, and he's got some awesome, phenomenal ideas that you'll see come through this pack, and even patents that he's working on with a lot of different things. But it was one of those things where I'm just like, dude, I can't even touch it, man. That's how weird I am with packs. I'm just, because it would have been like nothing's good enough, and I can't make it like how I want it, and nothing would have ever came about it.
I found a pack that worked for me, but it's pretty fucking big. The thing about it was, though, every single thing went inside it. My platform, my steps, everything. Nothing was outside of the pack. So there was nothing to snag. And it was also had a really good kidney belt, really good straps, and I could actually carry an extra layer of clothes tucked into the big kangaroo pocket of it. It worked perfect for my system. But that was to carry everything in it. Now, that's going to change it carrying the 0.5 because that works as a frame pack.
Well, yeah, now you almost want to go opposite.
Exactly.
And I think where you're going to get jacked up, and it's going to suck because like you got a system that you're straying away from, but where you're going to get jacked up, I think, is the time from, maybe when you get to the tree to, instead of taking stuff out of your pack and getting everything ready, I think you'll probably save some crucial time going, having a pack that is already off, like literally just having to drop it on the ground and start setting up your stand. Now, I mean, it's one of those things though, where you gotta, I mean, it's going to take some messing around, and that's where it just
and I mean, obviously I had a really smooth system for it to where it didn't cost me much time, much effort. Obviously, that's why I did it instead of, having things attached to the outside and all. But yeah, it's exactly what I told you when we started talking is, yeah, it's going to take me a little bit to get my system, but I have no doubt, one, I'm going to come up with my own system, but two, just being the way I am, as I'm coming up with my own system, I'm probably going to find holes and figure out solutions. Just those other basic innovations where it can be the little things that make a big difference.
And those are the things that I think people really appreciate. And I guess, and like when somebody really looks at a product, you can look at a stand from afar and say, oh, that looks like a tree stand. But when you dive in and you see some of the little things that we implement, on the stand, it's like, that's where we feel like it really separates the innovation. And those are the things that shine through when you're setting the stand every day, when you're packing it in every day, long hauls and all that kind of stuff.
Put it this way. I don't know anyone that doesn't want a custom gear stand. I understand not everybody can afford them, so they use other things, but I don't know of anyone that doesn't. If money was no object, everyone would have one. It's pretty simple.
I'm sure there's a few freaking bad apples out there that might not want one, but if you look at function and you look at, I guess, just overall huntability, there is, and this is a fact. I mean, I will challenge anybody to this fact. There is no lighter, more compact, more user-friendly, efficient hunting system out there. Like, period. That's it. I mean, you might find a stand or you might find a stand that, oh, well, look at this stand. It's 2 pounds. Like, well, okay. Does it have sticks that integrate with it? Does it pack? Does it have the leveling capabilities ours does? Does it have the standing room ours does? Does it function like a, like if you really look at the thing in a whole, it's just a fact. And that's what we set out to do. And, and I think we did it.
Well, like you said too, that I've kind of become known as a saddle hunter, even though it hasn't been a long time I've been in a saddle. I put it this way, season to season. I put as many fucking hours in one season as anyone else. I can promise you that. But, you know, I've kind of become known somewhat as a saddle guy, especially with some of the companies and stuff I was working with. But the fact remains that I did not kill a buck last year. And I had some really good encounters, and same with Sickastag. I mean, I had a Sickastag at 6 steps that I just couldn't get the shot on with the situation. But the point is I found that there was limitations and occasionally things I wanted to do different. And I wasn't just fully satisfied. And that's why I was looking into developing different platforms, and I have different ideas for different platforms and everything else. And when I saw the 0.5, I'm like, that solves a lot of the issues that I had. So I'm totally jacked, and you know, I would not make this venture at all if I honestly didn't see a positive in how it's going to affect my hunting. Because like I said, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, look, if you want to make videos about cool different ways to climb and do shit and everything, like all those can lead to further innovations. All those do have their place for certain people. But I want shit that's going to kill deer, not help me climb a telephone pole or a tree in my backyard in Crocs. Those just, we're not on the same level of what I am looking for out of my shit at that point. I don't know, dude. It's just different.
It's exactly. I've seen some stuff out there too, where, you know, guys are getting, I think rock climbers are entering the hunting realm. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, I love rock climbing as much as anybody, as much as the next guy. I'm all down to get the harness, get the ropes, like whatever, go do some bouldering or whatever. But like when it comes to hunt, like I know not to mix the two, because it's not the most efficient way. Like it just isn't. Like, yeah, if I'm going out to, like, you know, I think a lot of these guys are just, it becomes like, oh, well, we could do it this way. Like, you know, and sometimes there isn't a better mousetrap.
Well said.
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah, there's a reason you go back to basics. Just like you said with the original tree stand design, how much is it really veered off to what it is today? You're pretty close. You know, there's been improvements, but the basic form and function, it's kind of all there. It's all the same.
Yep. And a lot of Dad's original patents and a lot of things. Like for instance, take the Versa button. Okay, something Dad patented originally a long time ago, and it has lapsed. Even that patent has ran its course for years now. But there is not many tree stand companies out there, period, that do not imply that exact same technology, and they should, because that is the most efficient way to run a double loop strap around a stand. Like, you can run a 2-hook strap. It's not going to be as efficient. It's not going to be as sturdy. It's not going to have the first efficient. Yeah, or it's quiet, and it's just one of those things where, like, okay, that's the status. Like, that is, or that's the I can't think of the word,
like the
for
standard.
It, but, the standard. That's exactly what I was looking for. That's the standard. So, I mean, you look at that. You look at even like the way he has the leveling. I mean, or even the seat leveling. So many people have done that on their stands, which, you know, which is rightfully so. Everybody's doing that because, like, oh man, that's an awesome design. That's a good idea. That's so easily, and that's one thing that Dad has always been great at, is not only designing an awesome product, but then implementing it into the manufacturing process to save money and make it efficiently. And that right there is not easily done. And there's a lot of stuff too that, like, it's just that. So even like my biggest thing that I wanted to do with the stand is I wanted to increase some of those basic functions like leveling. So this stand has more leveling capability. It has more offset capability, and it has a harder bite because of the positioning and location of the offset bracket in regards to the beam and in regards to the mounting point on the Versa button. So like those little things that, like, normally I think a guy who hung it that never hung out of a lone wolf wouldn't know But if you've been rocking a lone wolf for 10 years and then you cam this thing into a tree, you're like, oh damn. You're like, this, like, holy shit, like this thing got tight, like, you know, and it's different, you know, like, or, you know, I'm in some crooked shit. So like so adding those extra 2 slots of leveling for the platform are huge to me. Like that was one of the biggest things I wanted to do right off the bat. Like I didn't want to just take a lone wolf and make it small, like a lot of other people did. Like it was like, I wanted to change the function of the stand as well. Same thing with the sticks. Like the biggest pain in the ass was those goddamn sticks. And there's a lot of companies out there that still, and even XOP. Like XOP, when we designed the quarter turn locking mechanism, it was awesome because it took a standard stick and it at least allowed you to stack them so they wouldn't fall apart.
Right.
Well, I mean, I wanted more than that because I was just pissed at them sticking out of the stand. And I didn't want to lay them flat and fucking bungee them over the stand. I'm like, you know what? No, we got to do it different. And that's where the complete pivoting, side turning, and interlocking came into play. And there was a lot of prototypes with that before it actually ended up being what it was. But, you know, now it's landed us with a super low profile stacked set of sticks and super compact. So it's, it's the process.
Was there anything else you were this obsessive with, like growing up or doing shit, or was it just pretty much you got introduced to whitetails and this was your thing? Like for me, you know, I was pretty obsessed with fishing, you know, skateboarding. I used to, you know, just follow everything and be into it. And then it became hunting and filming and it was just kind of all fucking over.
So I used to skate a lot back when I was real young, or not super young, but I used to be a big skater. I kept getting injured, and that kept me out. But to answer your question, I would say fitness for sure. Like I was big into just fitness in general, bodybuilding and weightlifting and just exercise. Like so that would be another. Yeah, and that's another equal passion of mine to hunting. Now, I used to bass fish like crazy, and I still love to. Just like I still skate. I got a mini ramp in my basement, and like I mean, I still skate. I still fish when I can. But like fitness is something that never leaves the regiment, and it's one of those things where I'm just as weirded out and tweaked in my head with how I work out and the way my body feels when I do work out and exercise that I feel like I need. I'm the same way with like hunting. So, and that's where like, and when it comes to season, I don't want to give either. So sometimes I run myself down because I'm like, well, yeah, I know I need to scout and I know I need to work today and I know I need to hunt, but I also need to work out. Like, okay, how am I going to fit all these things into one day? Like, so it becomes like a crazy, and I have a family, so it's like, and they really get the shaft when it comes to that time of year because I'm like, alarm's going off 3 hours before daylight. I'm like, okay, I got to get a quick workout in, and then I'm hunting the morning post. I'm power scouting a piece, and then I'm dipping off to work, and then I'm like, oh shit, what's the clock say? Okay, I got to get back out, you know, for the last couple hours before the sun goes down. You know, it's just it. So yes, so to answer your question, fitness. I mean, definitely.
I mean, I do the same shit, except one, I don't have the family aspect, but I bow fish, which pretty much takes up all my night hours. But dude, you come out here and catch a couple snakeheads and you'll say, fuck that bass fishing shit. Just saying.
I'm going to have to do it, man. But I've just been, for a long time, I got trapped in the tactical aspect of bass fishing. Like, I mean, Dad's a big muskie fisher guy, so he's all about fishing for muskies and casting open water. And like, I mean, and he'll tactically fish them a little bit, but I mean, like, I used to just be all about like picking out structure and like, you know, plastics and jigging and just, I mean, I don't know. I just, I like.
Hey man, that's what gives you the advantage of picking out the individual bucks and individual bedding. It's really not that much different.
Yeah, it actually, I mean, it does correlate, and it's just one of those, I don't know, it's cool. I mean, but, you know, there's things that you're more passionate for, and I mean, shit, I don't think I fished twice last year, you know, I mean, And it's not that I'm so engulfed in hunting all year round, because I'm not a big out of season, like so many guys out there right now are, you know, hey, what are you doing right now to get ready for the season? I'm like, I'm bass fishing, or I'm not really getting ready for the season. Like, I haven't begun that yet. So it's just a matter of just, I guess, life and a bunch of shit going on. But I do want to try the bow. I've never bow fished ever once in my life.
Dude, if you like fishing and you like shooting a bow, there is literally nothing fucking cooler. And the thing about it too is, like, you know, if you have a shot at a whitetail, you know, it's so hard to get drawn back sometimes. But then you have to have that perfect shot, because you only got one chance, and you have to hit it in the perfect vital zone. Bow fishing, you fucking draw back and let it rip. And if you miss, you reel it in and do it again. And if it's a half-ass hit, it doesn't matter. It grabs a hold of them. It's not like you're trying to specifically hit it and make a clean, ethical kill like you are, you know, a whitetail or other species similar. Like bow fishing, if you get your arrow in it, you've anchored it, you're bringing it to the boat, you're recovering it. So it's just fucking let them fly. You know what I mean? It's just, it just doesn't get any cooler. And then, I mean, we see deer at night, we see beavers, we see birds, eagles, muskrats, like, you fucking name it. Like, I don't know. It's just a cool little world to be in out there at night, man.
Oh, I bet, man. Yeah, I know I'd love it. I'm scared to do it, just like I'm scared to elk hunt, because I am deathly afraid to go on an elk hunt, because I'm afraid like it might hook me or something, and somehow lower my passion for whitetails. Like, you
that's
know,
what
so
happened to me in sick of deer.
Yeah, see, it's one of those things where I'm just like, oh man, I'm scared. I don't know. But everybody's like, oh man, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. And I'm just like, I'll just go to another state for another whitetail. Like, I'm good.
Well, another pretty cool announcement with the bow fishing. You know, me and Captain Nick Mather, he's the one that actually has the working class outdoorsman boat and everything. We got a big guest coming up. Mr. Tim Wells, Relentless Pursuits, on his way out to fish with us. So that's going to be fucking epic.
No. That will be insane, I'm sure.
Dude, he has been my idol in bow hunting and filming and just being a wild man and enjoying himself and just true fucking primal passion. Like, he's the fucking man. I don't
watch much hunting programs, and I never really did. But one guy I do remember watching, and it's just because the stuff that I've seen him do, literally, like, you can't forget it, because it's so incredible. And I know people who are good shots, and I know, like, this guy's not a good shot. This guy is I don't even know what you'd call it. He is like the level above.
Master.
Well, I mean, it's just, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. And I'm not a big archery nut, and I'm not a big, like, bow guy, but the stuff that I've seen him do on some programs and, like, the shots that I've seen him made, I'm just like, okay,
and he shoots with his fingers, no release, and he shoots no sights.
Yep. And now, does he shoot? He actually shoots. He has somebody told me once he has the actual sight frame, but no pin. Or does he have nothing on it?
I don't think he has anything. I mean, maybe that's something he played with at some point, but I'm pretty sure he's just completely instinctive shooter.
And I got kind of obsessed with that for a little while too, like where I started, and I was shooting like a recurve. Well, it was actually a longbow, not a recurve, but I was just like, oh yeah, this is really cool. You know, like, it's just something about that fascinates me. Like, just the fact that, like, taking it back, taking it to as primal as it can get, and like, okay, like, you're literally, and what draw me to it is I'd always get asked these questions about shooting deer, and I'd always never remember anything about actually killing the deer. They're always very close, but I never really remember aiming, and I never really remember, like, settling and breathing with the pin. And it was like, oh well, yeah, you're like, your instincts are taking over, and it's like you're shooting instinctive, even though you're shooting a compound with a release or whatever. And I used to shoot fingers too, but it's like, so I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. And then I just picked up a longbow, and instantly was like very accurate. And I was surprised at how accurate I was. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I actually hunted. I hunted for I think it was a complete season with a longbow, or maybe not a complete season. Maybe like, I think it was like 1 month into the season. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Let me, and then I grabbed one, and I stuck it out to the bitter end with it. And, I actually ended up missing a slammer at like 16 yards, with the longbow. And, and it was late season, like coming to the end. And I had this buck pinned down, and I think I talked to a buddy of mine whose actual bow it was. And he's like, dude, just take your compound in there and kill that thing. Like, he's a giant, like whatever. And I'm like, oh no, I got it. I got this. And I remember I set up in a cedar tree, and I had one little lane, and I was like tucked in this awesome little pocket. And it was colder than a witch's titty. Like it was frigid. And they were coming up through this valley, and I had the wind perfect. Now this bow is fucking long, dude. Like I'm not used to it. And I've been hunting out of it, but hunting from a tree stand is a little different with a longbow.
Oh, so yeah.
I'm tucked in. And I never once, like when I set that stand up, I'm just so ingrained on setting it up how I usually shoot with the compound. And I always set up my stands to have a seated shot, and I'll shoot in between my legs if I need to. And so I'm like, oh, I can do that with the recurve, no problem. Like I'm just thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's not going to be an issue. And sure as shit, this buck comes up, gives me a 16-yard shot, and I go to come to full draw, and my limb contacts the cedar. So I'm like, oh shit. And then instantly I panicked, and I'm like, oh no, this is not going to go well. So I let it down. I scooted my butt forward, tried to draw it back, and then I just clean missed him. And I think I just got in my own head, and and that was the end of the season for me. And I stuck with it, and I tried to get another crack at it one, and I never ended up getting one with the longbow. But
I've thought about it. Man. I mean, I've thought about it, especially because I spend all summer long instinctive shooting at all these fish and everything. It's draw and shoot. But, talking about how you just go into that instinctive mode and don't remember aiming and everything else and kind of like the old school style. I don't know if you've ever seen this sight that I have on my bow. It's called the Easy V. Dude, it's, in my opinion, the best bow hunting sight out there. It's, instead of having pins, you have a V shape, right? And the V is tapered to fit the speed of your bow. So just say you pick a grapefruit size for the vitals, right? You size it to where it fits in the middle of that V at 20 yards. Well, the way it's mathematically calibrated for the speed of your bow, if you back up to 30 yards, that grapefruit size still fits perfectly in the V at the height you need to aim. So you don't need to know your range. You just, as long as it's fitting inside that gap of the V, you send it. And I really say once you get used to it, you're more looking than you are aiming. And dude, I just found it amazing, especially for me being a right-handed shooter and left eye dominant. I'd have to shoot with like one eye closed and shit. Now I shoot with no peep, both eyes open, and it's just much more of an instinctive feel.
Yeah, and that's interesting because I've always, and I've even gotten guff for this, but like I've never shot a peep sight. I've always only shot a kisser button, and I started out with fingers, and it's always been one pin. But now I've never shot a deer over 25 yards. So, but this last year was the first year I actually got one of those, the ones that you could turn the dial and actually adjust for range. Now, whether I'll ever use it, I don't know. But I've always used one pin, but it was a little transition for me going from a single from the bottom to just a single side. But dude, now that like listening to what you're saying, I really like the idea that it sounds pretty awesome. Like, and definitely my style for sure.
And the other thing I like about it is you're not putting a pin over the spot you want to hit. The spot you want to hit, it's right in the middle and clear view. So like, I don't know. I feel like you don't try to drop your bow to see or anything else. It's like you see the spot you're aiming at. You're not blurring it out. I think it's fucking amazing. This dude, Aaron Lasco, makes it. But, dude, to me, it's the best bow hunting site out there unless you plan on shooting over 50 yards. Then you want to, like, then like you have now, the roving pin, the single pin is just hands down the best way to go. But for when you just got something moving and a target that may be changing, you could be at full draw and that deer goes from 30 yards to 20 yards or vice versa or anywhere in between. You don't always have a chance to let down and range it again and shit. You just, the vital size fits right there. Send it.
Yeah. And that's how I've always been with that one pin. It's like, okay, well, if he's at 5 yards and he's at 25, he's dying. Like, that's it. That's all I need. Like, but there's been so many times too where like so many deer have got by me at 35 yards that I'm just like, and then it triggered me to actually start shooting a little bit more, to get a little further range. But I feel like every time I do that, I end up not being successful. So it's just, or less successful. Like as soon as I try and start to get greedy, is where I start to do worse. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, but
I do. And like you said, it makes you think more. You don't go so automatic. You got to think and process more instead of just like letting the flow happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
I tell you, and speaking of, I don't know if you saw the picture I posted today. My Lobo showed up today.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, dude, it did. I'm pretty fucking stoked to get her set up, man. There's a lot of things I like about it yet, and I haven't even been shooting it yet. One of the things I actually really like about it is the simplicity in it. Like the simplicity in the riser and everything. It reminds me of some of my old bows that I shot better than I do anything I've used in the past several years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that because like it does have more of a traditional look. It's not completely. I mean, it still is technically like a parallel limb style bow, but some of these bows now are getting to the point where like they don't even look like bows.
Oh yeah,
like,
the way the riser cages are cut and everything.
Yeah, it just looks like some big like just frame that you're holding, and yeah. So I do agree. That's a very very elegant way to put it. Like the simplicity is just. It definitely is a little nostalgic,
Well, and you were mentioning before, Andre, your father, he's come up with so many things that he has patents on that, you see almost every tree stand company is using or copying basically essentially the same thing. And Dart and Archery is that company of the bow world. I mean, there are a lot of royalties that get paid to Darton for their patent designs and what other people use and everything.
Oh yeah, and I don't think not even a fraction of people know that and understand that. But yeah, that Rex Darlington, the head designer and the head honcho at Darton, like he is responsible for. I mean, if somebody looked up how many patents that guy actually had, I mean, it is insane. And they got so many patents to where they have patents that are literally lapsing before they can even come out with the technology, just because like you need to give a bow a year and sell it. And like, if you innovate too quick, then like your old stuff is like, that's how crazy their patent like drawer is. Like, and there is, I would probably say like, and I mean, I don't know, you can't quote me, but it's definitely close. I think 80 or 90% of all the bows on the market are paying something to him.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you're reaching saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something just obscene. With like how they have the cams locked down and, everybody aside from, I think Matthews has got some solo cam stuff and some stuff that they did, but yes, you are 100% right. Darton is got some sick cam technology, and there's some stuff that they also keep that they don't let a lot of people have. But we took a really good bow or a really good cam design that Darton had, along with one of their popular risers for more of their like speed and forgiveness, and then implemented a few patents that Dad has, like of the soft touch on the riser, and then now the removable grommets. So like, and just kind of combining it for like a return of the Lobo, which I mean, Darton made the original Lobo back in 2005 when Dad had it cut to match the cast of the stand. So it was only like I guess, just the first choice to go the darting route. With the history we had with them, they're right in Michigan, just not very far from our new stand facility. So it's just it all worked out pretty well.
Dude, yeah, I'm excited to shoot it, and I think I don't know. I've heard mixed reviews, but I think the grommets are pretty cool. Which ones I'm going to use, I don't know yet. I got to shoot the bow. Like I said, again, I'm all for gadgets and shit. If it works, it'll stay. If it doesn't, then it's going to go. But I really do feel like probably having a couple of them in key places for where I want additional weight or additional balance or additional dampening. I'm sure I'm going to have at least a couple of them in there. But again, I don't know, because I haven't spent my time to shoot it. And again, the number one goal is going to kill deer. And if it ain't helping me do that, then it don't have a place. But I think it's pretty fucking cool.
And that's the thing. There's some guys who got it that don't run any grommets. There's some guys who run them all. There's some guys who run just a few. I mean, me personally, like I was running all the grays, and now, eventually, the plan was to do some very specific grommets for terrain. But like this year, turkey, when shit started greening up, my bow was disappearing with all those green grommets in it.
I bet.
Now, I mean, in like early season, when I'm hunting like, very green timber, like I'll be rocking the green ones, and then I might, because I think mid-season too, I even took them out and I did nothing for a while because that see-through, and then late season we had a shit ton of snow. I tossed the white ones in. Well, I mean, it's just,
and a lot of things. Go ahead. Sorry, cut you off.
No. That's pretty much where I was going with it.
Well, and a lot of people don't think about this, and this is something I learned a long time ago before I bought that lone wolf stand, and I was doing more ground hunting and on public land and everything else. Is your bow can be a line of cover. And that's also one of the reasons I learned to, and I still do, shoot with my quiver on, because I put my bow in front of me and I am looking, through my riser or through my arrows at that deer. So if he looks up at me, that bow is breakup. That's cover. It's breaking up my outline. It's breaking up my face. It's breaking up my eyes and my line of sight to the deer. So being able to, like you said, adding that green, you've essentially made a more effective line of cover for a last defense.
Oh yeah, hands down. And honestly, I don't even. I mean, you look at dampening factors and you look at weight, and that's an awesome point, because it's something that I look a little past. But yes, like that is definitely going to balance your bow just a little bit different. It's going to dampen it more. So like even picking and choosing where you have those. But exactly. I mean, I also too. I've 100%. I have never once been a quiver off type guy. My quiver is on my bow and it's on there for good. I mean, like the only time I don't even take it off when I put it in my case. I literally, it's just always on there. And I always, just because I never wanted to have that extra step, but I do too. Also, I use that bow. And a lot of times, like I said, it goes hand in hand with how I set up my stand. A lot of my stands are set up for that seated shot, and that bow is on my knee the entire time, standing up. And what is it in front of when I'm standing? It's literally, like you said, it's breaking up my body. So, especially if something's coming in head on and I'm sitting there, like you better bet your ass that bow is helping you 100%. Like just being in front.
And that's another reason I think overbowing is a major problem. People that get a bow that's way too strong for them. If you can't be essentially have your bow in position, looking through your bow at that animal, and then pull that arrow directly back to your chin without your bow going up or your bow going down and changing and making that movement, you are just 10 times more concealed. When nothing is moving but your draw arm and your arrow coming back, and you really don't see anything when it's linear. You do when it goes up and down, or you do side to side. Yep. That's when, and you got guys drawing way too heavy a poundage sometimes to where, they're sticking it up in the air to do this draw. And it's like, Man, you're blowing a lot of shot opportunities with that.
They're putting the boat at 10 o'clock just to get the string back. And it's like, and then dropping it all the way back down or to 12 o'clock or whatever you want to call it, all the way back down to 9. Like, holy, like if you got to be doing that, you're pulling a little bit too much poundage. I mean, I would 100% agree.
And I see it all the time. All the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, so many people get caught up on the poundage versus just the, shot placement and just, I mean, an effective place shot. I mean, you don't have to be pulling back. You don't have to be pulling back anything, and you don't have to have a broadhead the size of a fucking goddamn axe either. Just it's just, it's simple, straightforward. I mean, and you got it done. I mean,
I do like shooting fairly heavy arrows, though. I will say there's something about a heavy arrow and the way it just goes through a deer like the fucker's just not even there. The
whap, yeah.
Yep, walking up and your arrow's also just another like 6-8 inches into the ground. It's just, I don't know. There's something about that, man.
Yeah, it's definitely better than freaking hitting them broadside in the ribs and not getting a pass through. I'll tell you that.
Dude, I had that happen too many times, and it was when I bought a bow that shot faster, and I went with a light arrow setup and everything else. And I mean, it was just my lack of knowledge then that I realized it was more so in the arrow I was shooting out of that bow than the bow itself. But, sure, this bow was shooting so much faster, and apparently you do the math, some more kinetic energy and shit, but when I was shooting animals in the side, it was not doing the same thing. It wasn't the same. And that's what essentially made me go back to shooting a heavier arrow.
Exactly. And it's all preference too. I mean,
no doubt. Is there anything else Lone Wolf's got going on we should let people know about? I mean, you said your dad is up there personally putting together stands, so I guess you're getting some in the mail and out the door to these people that place the early orders?
Oh, yeah. Yep, 100%. So right now, at the moment, they are actually fulfilling all the camera arm orders. The 1.0s are being cut as we speak, and they will, by the time this airs, I'm sure people will have them at their front door. And then the next on the cut list for next week is the sticks and finally the 0.5. And then we should be full up in production and rocking stands out, hopefully, just right up through fall. So I think everything now is officially up for order with a max lead time of 3 to 4 weeks just for it to come off the line, get the final assembly, and then get shipped out. So that's exciting, and we are really amped at the way the products have turned out this year. So.
Dude, I'm fucking jacked for the 0.5 and the sticks, and either you and your father are going to find out this is a great partnership or get tired of me, because as I find my system, I'm going to be hitting you up like, hey, I thought of this, or I'm doing this, and check this shit out. And, but it's just the fucking way I go with it. And I tell you, another thing that's really cool is you guys bringing back the whitetail addictions, and you're going to watch these guys and girls that have completely different styles actually putting all that gear to use and seeing the new shit in action. It's pretty dope, man.
Oh yeah. That's been exciting too. I mean, they're launching new episodes from last year now from pretty much a lot of the staff guys, new and old, who have been just rocking the new setups and getting after it. I mean, we've always had a really hardcore group of guys that have just been, like the title says, addicted to hunting whitetail, and they're pushing out some awesome content. And a lot of, not only does the development of the stands come from our personal aspect, but staff guys, like yourself, like the collaborations we're gonna do, like the knobs, with Zach, and even customers, like so many customers, like I talk to customers for hours and hours every week on the phone, just them picking my brain, me picking theirs on how they like the stands, how it worked out for them. So it's an awesome process to see something evolve from not only, your personal design standpoint, but, to take those ideas from others and just implement them and just make something better.
Fuck yeah, dude. And like I said, I'm totally jacked to have part of it. I've always said, ever since I bought that first tree stand, I knew it was my most important piece of gear. And no lie, starting to film and everything else and doing it all myself and everything, Lone Wolf had always kind of been that dream, if that makes sense. Is like, that's fucking hitting the big leagues. Like if you're playing football in middle school, you don't think of, man, one day I want to grow up and go play for that team on the Canadian League no one fucking heard of. Like, no, you want to be the big dog in the fucking Super Bowl catching a pass from Tom Brady or whatever, and that's kind of where I had always seen Lone Wolf, and it's where I think Lone Wolf Custom Gear is fucking holding rank with the products you guys are putting out, man, no doubt.
Oh, we appreciate that, man. I'm just still laughing at the Canadian League. It's good. No,
you didn't even know there was a Canadian Football League, did you?
Oh man, yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, yeah, we appreciate it, man, and it's awesome. I'm so pumped to have you on board, and especially this season, man. I look forward to those. I look forward to those late night calls, getting in from a post like, hey, I got it. So that's when the work happens and the stuff gets done. So it's cool, man. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's for sure. There's a lot of big things to come. I know you guys have got some things going on. I've got some things up my sleeve. I'm making a lot of big moves that I haven't really, necessarily made public yet. This being one of them, that this is kind of the announcement of our partnership, and it's something we've kind of been working on, but I wanted to get things solid and I don't do anything half-assed, man. So, wanted to make sure this is the right fit for everybody and kind of get things set up to hit it fucking head on and make shit happen. And I'm going to be bringing a lot of extra things for people to see in the videos. Shit going on with the bow fishing. It's there's a lot to fucking come, that's for sure. And I think it's going to be an excellent partnership.
Hell yeah, brother.
Well, dude, we're getting about 2 hours into this shit. So I think we're going to get ready to wrap her up because I know we could go on for a while.
We might have to do a volume 2. See if anybody ends up listening to this one. We'll gauge it and we'll see what they think.
Oh yeah, hopefully they do. And this hopefully a little bit different than your normal D'Acquisto series podcast. You know what I mean? Give the people something a little bit different. So
exactly. I'm just. Hopefully we'll get 6 downloads. I'm just I got it's nice not to be sitting next to the old man and having to defend myself.
I love the bickering and the back and forth at it. I think it's badass. Yeah. So anyone else that heard this, you want some real in-depth knowledge, make sure you check out the D'Acquisto series podcast. Make sure you check out everything on the new line of the Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and shit's gonna get epic, promise you. This has been another episode. KiLLs it.